Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is going to be a meta update with, I would say, two questions in mind that I've been hearing a lot from the chat in the YouTube as well as in the Twitch channel when I'm streaming. And these two questions are, what is the best way to climb MR right now? And should I be playing meta heroes or should I be playing heroes that I'm generally better at but aren't particularly meta? These are two really interesting questions because it calls into question a lot about the approach you have to the game and what your priorities are. So for this particular meta update, I'm going to talk to you guys about what I'm doing right now, particularly DNMMR, what it has done so far in the short term, and hopefully how you guys can do it in your own way, especially when it comes to what heroes are you picking and how are you approaching picking your hero in general. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So where we're going to start is going to be with my hero grid. I've talked about this in past videos, just how useful I find it is to organize your thoughts, quote unquote, kind of like a Dota drafting journal, to utilize your hero grid to do this. But we're going to be talking about it, not only how I'm approaching it right now, but also specifically for the current patch and what I think is broken, in case there's anything that you guys feel like you're not up to date on. What's really important about every single patch, here's the first question when it comes to drafting. And I know there's a lot of information on your guys' screen, but we're going to use some highlights to ensure that you can keep focus on what we're drawing attention to. So the first question is, when do I think I can pick a hero in the draft? Now, that's not something I explicitly put on here, but it's something that I'm thinking about when I'm listing them from left to right. My main two roles are carry and offlane. So my hero grid is going to be determined based on like revolving around those two roles specifically. And I'm also going to have more heroes for those two roles because of the fact that I've played them more and I have more in-depth understanding of when to pick certain heroes in given situations. So let's just hone in on carry and offlane for a second first. So when it comes to first round drafting a hero, the only way to really find out if it's first roundable is, I think this hero is really strong. I'm just going to first round it and see how it goes. You know, I'm going to get countered, see if I can still win, see if the hero feels really hard to play, and we're going to go from there. So this is something that's much better done when the patch has been settled, right? Or you'll at least get more conclusive results, especially if you're following professional Dota. So right now, for me, the only two carries that are first roundable are Nature's Prophet and Terrorblade. It is debatable, in my opinion, to first round Underlord as well as Beastmaster, two heroes that are very non-traditional carries that we're going to talk about a bit later in the video, but that's to be determined by myself, and that's why they're in third and fourth slot. In the off lane, I actually think the only hero I feel comfortable first round picking is Terrorblade. I was trying out Bristleback ATF style with the Seeing Red facet because that's the traditional Bristleback that I'm familiar with, and, you know, spoiler alert, it wasn't working. So I decided to not play that anymore, and I removed Bristleback from my pool. He's apparently pretty broken with the green facet at the competitive level, so if you guys want to try that out and watch a couple replays, you're welcome to put him in your hero grid. But that's a perfect example of, it used to be Terrorblade, then Bristle, and now Bristle's just out of the picture. So now I've established what heroes I think are first roundable. I've left Terrorblade there, for instance, and Nature's Prophet, because when we look at my picks, I promise you all of these Terrorblades, offlane and carry, predominantly offlane actually, were first picked in the draft, and also the Nature's Prophets were first picked. And the Sand Kings, I no longer have being first picked because I did first pick those in the draft and I lost both of my games. So the question begs, first, is the hero no longer first roundable, or is the hero just not good at all? So that's why I approach it in tiers of, is this hero good when picked in the correct spot, or is he just broken enough already to just pick whenever the hell? So when it comes to carry, I've tiered that out pretty clearly for myself. The next round of carries have been established based on experience within the game, based on heroes that it feels like they need one or two conditions in order to be picked. And those heroes I think can be picked third, fourth in an all-pick draft. The conditions can include they're good against, they have a good lane matchup. Conditions can include they have a good carry-to-carry matchup. Conditions can include the supports can't kill them at all. For instance, with TA, I'm like, if they have no damage over time, or like a strong support in lane that's going to help me bully them, then I'll pick TA. But it really sucks to pick TA and then have like a 5-position Slark and an off-lane Darkseer, you know, some hero with immense amount of damage over time. So that's why I've put TA in the second round of picks. I want to have a nice blend of learning heroes while also having a blend of heroes that I believe when I pick them, they will have a realistic shot at winning. So what you're going to notice is Terrorblade might only work for me because I'm level 23 Dota Plus and I have 329 games, right? While Nature's Prophet, if you're a viewer at home, it's pretty convincing that he's broken if I've won, both my games, having, okay, 125 games, but most of these are like 2020 and earlier. So the fact that I'm winning with him after first picking him says a lot to you guys, I believe. You could apply this same thing to my mid and support roles, but at the end of the day, those for me, what I'm trying to accomplish in my off main roles is to have heroes that overlap from other roles that I'm already playing. So I'm already looking to play Beastmaster carry. So I put Beastmaster mid lane, and I would be willing to first pick it mid because I think there's virtually no hard counters. And then Sand King is an off laner that can also be played mid. And then the other ones are heroes that I just really like to play. And also, I'm a good enough Huskar that if I thought it was cheesy and I had last overall pick, I have Huskar in there. Like, that's how I constructed my mid pool. It's really important to note, guys, that I'm providing you a formula, and the idea is the questions that I'm asking myself. Feel free to copy paste this if you would like, but it's the questions I'm asking myself. When I'm going to pick these, how I think about my off-meta roles. So, like, for me, 4 position right now is kind of a dream, because if I'm stuck playing 4 position, I can just play Slark or Terrorblade, and I've had pretty good success so far because of the fact that I know how to play these heroes really well, I understand them really well, and now I just apply that to playing at support. Now, I don't think these heroes are very good in support role if you don't really know these heroes very well, and they're certainly capable of completely griefing the game. So I'm not here to advocate time to learn how to play Slark in the support role, but if you're also a Slark extraordinaire, you're like me, you've played 800 games of Slark or something, and you're a carry player and you're stuck playing 4, if you think you can apply your knowledge of Slark to 4 position, more power to you. But we also look at heroes that flex. I play a lot of Jakiro in general, so I have him at 4 and 5. Shaman's one of my favorite 4s to play. Tiny's a carry who can also be played 4. So I'm trying to get as much flex overlap as possible in order to consolidate the hero pool I'm currently playing and make it so that if I play 5 games a day, if I'm stuck playing different roles, because that's a problem in the Immortal bracket, that I'm not playing a different hero every game. Because if you're playing a different hero every game, you're not going to really have the ability to learn the ins and outs of the meta. So what is probably going to happen by next week is, if you guys saw my Wraith King guide, the reason I released that guide is because I was doing this. And I'm going to be honest with you that towards the end of this, it did feel harder and harder to win. Okay, I'm not saying Wraith King's terrible all of a sudden, but it did feel harder and harder to win for some reason. Then I played a game that I felt like went pretty well, and we lost. And I kind of just stopped believing in Wraith King, and it's not because I'll never pick him again, but it just felt like his stock was going down. So that very well could happen with Terrorblade, right? Because when we look at my game history right now, I'm doing the same thing with Terrorblade. But what's really cool about it is I kind of asked myself, what about Wraith King felt bad? Why do I feel like it was a little bit annoying to play the hero? And it felt like people were beginning to pick very convenient, sustain-heavy heroes that can just kill his skeletons and out-farm him. So, like, when you think about, like, the Terrorblades of the world, and even, like, Underlords and Nature's Prophets, once they get items, they'll just kill your skeletons and they build into Satanic, and then what? What do you do now, right, as Wraith King? The whole idea of Wraith King is that you whittle people down and you make it difficult for them to feel safe on the map, and it takes too heavy of an investment of, like, one volley of spells in order to kill you. That's what makes Wraith King good. So if people aren't doing that in your games, then Wraith King could easily be broken. But for me, it didn't feel like that was the case. So I've been leaning away from Wraith King. Another thing I've noticed about this patch, as we go back to kind of like the first pick, third pick, fourth pick, when you get into overall last pick, I think it's really important to note that that's when you can start whipping out your specialty heroes. Because at the end of the day, if they're off-meta heroes, but you understand them really well, what's really cool about that is you understand what makes the hero not necessarily meta, probably, and you also understand what a good game for the hero looks like. So even if it's an off-meta hero, if you see, wow, it's the perfect Jug game, they have no way to stop spin TP, and, Omnislash is going to wreck them, and we have really good stuns and backup and all that stuff, it's like, oh, I could pick Jug there, and not only is it beneficial to me because it's a good Jug game despite him being off-meta, but there is value to picking heroes your opponent doesn't see very often. There is value to that. It's like in my bracket, people are going to become better and better and better at dealing with the heroes you see every game because of the fact that they see them every game. So another component that I have on my hero grid that I've talked about before is heroes to worry about in the draft. So a lot of times these are either heroes that are not in the roles that I'm currently playing most of, or they can be played in like a bunch of different roles, and they change the way the game gets played. These are like the criteria I have for putting them in my heroes to worry about. Because I don't put Terrorblade there because every game I'm just first picking Terrorblade. Why would I worry about Terrorblade being in the draft if I'm going to be first picking it playing carry or offlane or even 4 position? But Nature's Prophet, I put him there because if I'm not playing carry, he's a hero I want to make sure I notice. Tinker, I don't play support. I don't really play mid all that much, and that's where Tinker's predominantly played. Anti-Mage is there because of the Medusa Anti-Mage dynamic, where Medusa is generally really strong if Anti-Mage isn't in the pool. So that's why I have him there. It pertains to this hero right here, like it's on my hero grid. And then Ember Spirit is a mid that it feels like I need to have an answer for in the draft, where if he's like Ember versus Tiny mid and we have no way to stun him, we just lose. He feels kind of like the Puck of this patch, meaning that if you don't have a stun, you just lose. That's what I mean by the Puck of this patch, a hero that unless stunned will just own you. Silencer really changes the way I want to build with multiple dispels or just generally less hard committal heroes because of the counter initiation. And then, of course, the cheesiness of Huskar. He's there instead of like Broodmother because I'm not seeing any Broodmothers. So if I start getting cheesed by Broodmother and losing, I'll put Broodmother here. But I have had games where Huskar just absolutely destroys the game, either on my team or the other. So I've put him in there as a hero to make sure I keep an eye out on. As we go through this entire breakdown of the roles, let's conclude a little bit with what I'm thinking for the heroes in carry and offlane that are not so much the creme de la creme meta heroes, but the situationally pickable heroes. So if we go offlane first, just because the list is shorter, I see Axe, I see Underlord, I see Medusa, Tide, Wraith King, right? For me, it feels like Underlord, Axe, and Tide all kind of suffer to the same types of heroes. Heroes that just want to hit you no matter how tanky you are, like the Ursas of the world. And I've also noticed hero like Morphling, surprisingly, may lose lane to these type of heroes, but will just chunk you down. Any hero that has sustain and is happy to hit you. What I've noticed these heroes are good is when that's not the case. Now, the problem is I feel like most of the carries at the top that I'm seeing honestly have a lot of sustain and don't mind hitting tanky targets. But if I have a support that synergizes with these heroes, maybe like a Skywrath Mage for the damage to follow up Axe, maybe like a physical damage 4 position like Hoodwink for Tide because you have Gush. Maybe a hero that's like more defensive and nuke heavy for Underlord because he likes to harass that way. And with Medusa, it's more of like a melee 4 position. That's when I'm going to pick these guys. It feels like if I pick TB offlane, whatever my 3-4 position picks, it really doesn't matter. I feel like the reason why Terrorblade's so broken in the offlane is because I can do whatever strategy works for the lane, and I can adjust. And I'm also aware enough of Terrorblade because of my past playing him that I will feel confident adjusting matchup to matchup, and I'll get out of every single lane. That might not apply to the people watching that are also learning TB. I do have a Terrorblade guide that predominantly applies to carry, but honestly, all of the ideas, the concepts apply to Terrorblade offlane as well, because he is getting played pretty much the same way. There are potential options to go Aura TB, but I don't even recommend doing that. I've just been playing carry. These are all offlane first pick Terrorblade games. It's like, here's this build. So yeah, Terrorblade offlane, basically Terrorblade carry. And it feels fine in this meta just because of how good meta is. Sorry, I'm kidding. But yeah, he just feels like he can be played into every given matchup. And if you want to know more about Terrorblade, definitely check out that hero guide that I released. So when we go back to the carry role, what I would like to say is, other than Terrorblade and perhaps Morphling, it feels like traditional hard carries feel really weak right now. Like, you have TA, who's not really a hard carry. You will fall off and lose the game later if you're not owning. As we move over, I think Gyrocopter is just specifically susceptible to supports like Ancient Apparition that prevent healing. And overall being bursted if you're not protected by your teammates and pubs. Abaddon and Lifestealer are next to each other because they're much more situational. Like, I have Rage, I'm unkillable. Abaddon has, I have a Dispel, I'm unkillable. Depending on the lineup that I'm playing against, like Dispel's really broken or BKB is really broken. When I look at Ursa Troll, these heroes are like the hard right-clicking carries that can just man-fight basically anyone. And there's going to be games where the opponent just has a bunch of taunts, like Legion Commander or a bunch of summons, and I just want to right-click them with Battle Fury. And then the situational heroes, for me, Bristleback is there because he's really good against Enigma Beastmaster off lane, so I'll consider picking him then. Slark is just my boy. I actually don't think he's that great of a carry, but if I see like Pudge 4 position and a melee 3 position, I'll gladly pick Slark carry because I think his weakness is the lane. And I've moved Tiny all the way down just because the same thing as Wraith King, where I was winning a lot on Tiny and it just felt like it kept getting harder and harder to win based on the nerfs and just based on maybe something I'm missing with the playstyle. And so that's why these heroes are on there for me. They have a place in the game. They have a place, like I mentioned, Gyrocopter in the lane duos video that I recorded last week, where it just feels like if you're able to effectively nuke the wave and nuke the opponent at the same time and thwart their aggression that way, Gyro is one of the best farmers in the game. You just flat cannon the wave and leave. But because I feel like the traditional carries, in my experience, just suck, I've started working with these new carries. Nature's Prophet has been there. He's been like he is a hard carry. Going into the straight Mjolnir build with the Treant to cut waves and being able to farm anywhere on the map. What Nature's Prophet offers is global presence, while also fast farming with the items he's allowed to build. What's like a budget version of this? Like, if you guys haven't experienced it, Nature's Prophet is just so broken that you have to accept that if he, like a lot of times when I first pick Prophet, it just gets double pick banned. And if you're allowed to play it, it's just free MMR. But I'm like, what about that concoction? Boom, global hero that farms pretty fast. Carry Underlord, right? I've only played him twice so far, but it felt really good. 69 total games. Nice. But with the facet, Underlord's attacks cleave. He has a 35% Battle Fury on his Atrophy aura. And he also has a global ult. So he feels kind of like a hybrid of Nature's Prophet and Sven because of the cleave plus bonus damage from Atrophy aura, matching Sven. But the build seems to be Mask of Madness, Echo Saber. And then from there, it's kind of situational. A lot of people eventually build a Harpoon with the idea that you don't want to go Blink because your hero will lack a bit of damage. But he misses armor. So it's like Treads, Mask of Madness, Echo Saber. And then usually it's either SNY, Manta, or BKB, some defensive item that allows you to survive. And then Harpoon AC has been my experience so far. A little bit of what I've seen, along with a little bit of what I'm playing. So maybe I'll be able to give you guys a more detailed update next week after I've been able to grab my hands on him a little bit more. But so far in the last week since I started doing this, I've been getting Terrorblade or Nature's Prophet every single game. So that's why Underlord's in there. And not only is it that he matches the description of Nature's Prophet, but because we talked about when this patch initially came out, the fact that there's an Ancient Camp right behind your tower as a carry, I love any hero being played as a potential offlaner now being a carry that could just clear Ancients pretty early on in the game. So Underlord with Mask of Madness alone, Treads, Mask of Madness, boom, you can kill a 2-3 Ancient stack, no problem. You can also just farm an individual Ancient, right? Like, you can just farm really fast. You're basically Sven in that regard. But the big difference is you're a much stronger laner than Sven, in my opinion. Much stronger. So heroes that generally get out of the lane, clear-cut timings, and can farm the Ancients are the ones I like the most in the carry role. If they can't farm Ancients, they could at least farm neutrals pretty well. For example, Terrorblade. And Beastmaster fits a very similar description. I think Beastmaster is kind of just the better Sven. You don't have cleave, but you have your hero that builds into Blink Stun, that also goes through frickin' BKB, his roar, and you just burst people with that. And his Ags gives him, I'd say it's like a pseudo Battle Fury Maelstrom, where like it gives you AoE on your damage, so it's like a farming tool that also kills people. So like with Beastmaster safe lane, I just see Treads, Null Talisman for the mana, and the Tread swapping, into Ags, Blink, BKB, Shiva's Refresher. It's the same as the mid and off lane build, but you can actually just carry the game that way, because you're a right clicker who has mixed damage with your Drums of Slum. So the Shivas is just amazing as a way to blink in and kill somebody with the debuff you're applying and just the teamfight presence you have. But you're also one of the best pick-off heroes in the entire game. I personally feel like I'm figuring out that hero a little bit, because if you buy Mantas and Lincolns, it's really hard for him to roar you. And I feel like if the hero can't roar you, he feels pretty bad with the build. I feel like the build right now, if the people are letting you roar them with a blink, you just kill anybody in the game. And it's absolutely busted. I don't think the hero's bad at it by any means. Like, I'm putting it here because it is busted. But I think this hero might be getting figured out slowly but surely, at least in pubs. So that is my reasoning. I gave you guys a nice dissertation of exactly what I've been doing to concoct my hero grid that guides me through my games. And what I'm doing is if a hero is working, I'm just going to keep picking it. That's the goal. Like, I'm honestly, if I want to gain MMR and I want to prioritize the climb, what I'm going to, and I'm going to try that right now, is I'm just going to keep picking Terrorblade, for instance, or Nature's Prophet, or, you know, move down the list until that doesn't feel like it's the right hierarchy of picks, you know? If people start beating me for some reason, then I'll be able to understand why it was working before and why it feels like it's no longer working now. And that's effectively what journaling is. You know, it's a little bit of a check-in to remind yourself, check in and see, how is this working? How do I feel about this? And that's why I think this is such a clean way to do it. And I think that's also my interpretation of what has worked so well for some of these up-and-coming pros or recent ones in the last couple years who've had really small hero pools, but like been absolute master classes at them. And if you do this for every patch, which a lot of them have, you know, 2-3 years into their career, they have 10-15 heroes they can play. So I think this is an amazing approach to not only own the meta, but also learn new heroes, really understand what makes heroes really good or not, and also feel comfortable picking during the games. What I've noticed when I do this, because I'm in a better headspace to kind of think about the game and break it down this way when I'm in my pubs, is that I don't ever really get cheesed or surprised by drafts. Like today, I played offlane TB and the guy picked carry anti-mage against me because it matched up well against my carry. And if you guys have ever played anti-mage versus TB, it's like a freaking nightmare. That's the kind of stuff that doesn't happen when you play on this, right? You wouldn't pick anti-mage because Terrorblade's in most of your games, and you'd know, like, I'm going to keep an eye out for Terrorblade. Or at least that's a lesson you only have to learn once. For today's sponsor, this video has been brought to you guys by yours truly. The website that I've made. I have invested hundreds of dollars into bsjdota.com, giving you all of the latest news with Brad G. I mean, BSJ and the coaching content, the YouTube content, the personal content, the Twitch content, a monthly blog, and more. Check it out now. Hundreds of dollars, guys. Get it while it's hot. We'll be putting a lot more effort into this as well as the community. Please check it out yourselves, bsjdota.com. See you guys in the next video. But that wraps up today's video. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Make sure to check out the Terrorblade guide as well as the Lane Duos guide for more about this exact topic. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next meta update. Peace.